Good morning, America. Breaking news, bombing arrest. A man taken into custody in connection with the new London bombing. The threat level now critical. Britain bracing for another possible terror attack. London, a city on edge this morning after the subway explosion.
And I turned left and I saw the fireball surge toward my side.
And the tweet from President Trump causing sparks. George getting reaction from Britain's Prime Minister.
New overnight violent protests.
Hands up! Don't shoot!
Police in riot gear armed with tear gas confront demonstrators angry over the acquittal of a white former police officer in the fatal shooting of a black man. After a high-speed chase, the cleared ex-cop speaking out this morning.
I did not murder Anthony Lamar Smith.
Why he says he opened fire.
And nursing home deaths, the home where 8 patients died in the wake of Hurricane Irma, giving their side of the story. Their calls for help after losing power, after more finger pointing. Who really dropped the ball here? As fears grow over stubborn Hurricane Jose out there in the Atlantic, our weather team tracking its path right here this morning.
Live from ABC News in New York, this is Good Morning America.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Let's get straight to the breaking news. Police in the UK say they've arrested an 18-year-old man in connection with the London subway blast that injured more than a dozen people on Friday.
Now, despite this arrest, the country is on edge this morning. Hundreds of soldiers are deployed in the streets. Authorities say the terror threat level will remain at critical, meaning they believe that another attack might be imminent.
The crude bomb used here was contained in a bucket, wires hanging out of it. It partially exploded during the morning rush hour. The blast set off a stampede of terrified commuters.
Now, ISIS has claimed responsibility. They say more bombs are out there. Questions loom this morning, including whether there are other terrorists on the loose right now. We begin our coverage with ABC's Ian Pannell, who's in London for us this morning. Ian, good morning to you.
Dan, Paula, good morning to you from Parsons Green Station. This is the station that was attacked yesterday. You can see the police out on patrol this morning. Things remain tense here and people are being vigilant. So yes, some major news. An 18-year-old man picked up in the southern port city of Dover. Why is Dover important? Well, if you're trying to flee the country, then Dover is one of those places you go to. You get on a ferry, you go to France, and then you'll be in continental Europe. Two other things to bring viewers up to speed on. One is that this investigation is continuing and that the terror threat remains critical. This morning, as London recovers from the terror attack, a major police breakthrough. An 18-year-old arrested in the southern port city of Dover. But the investigation continues and there's a heavy police presence at busy London train stations. The UK terror threat raised to critical overnight, the highest possible tier, meaning another attack could be imminent. Counter-terrorism police and MI5 hunting for other suspects. The homemade explosive detonating at 8:20 a.m. yesterday morning, but it didn't go off as the attackers planned.
Literally within 3 seconds of putting your bag down, the doors just closing, hear a loud explosion occur.
And I turned left and I saw the fireball surge toward my side.
People desperately trying to escape.
There was women underneath me, there's a lady saying, I'm pregnant, there's a little boy, his face had got smacked into the step. There was just layers and layers of people screaming.
People were just getting crushed and we were just trampling each other and it was just every man for themselves.
Emergency responders tending to the injured after passengers escaped out the back of the train.
I saw one woman being wheeled out on a stretcher. Her legs were quite badly burnt and they were wrapped in plastic and her hairline looked quite charred.
Police saying many could have died if the bomb had fully exploded. Sources telling ABC it was the same material used in the Manchester bombing, TATP, known as the mother of Satan. But it seems the bombers got the mixture wrong, which is why it didn't go off as planned.
We're strengthening our policing resources on the streets of London and indeed across the country.
ISIS saying they planted the bomb that left 30 people injured. It's the 5th terror attack in Britain this year, and even more than that have been foiled by the police. Well, what that means is that Britain is facing its most sustained terror attack incidents since the 1970s and the IRA bombing campaign. But this isn't a country, this isn't a city that scares easily. And I don't know if you can see, this is a normal Saturday morning, there's a little market, there are people out with their dogs, with their children. Even so, people are remaining vigilant and cautious, and they're on high alert. Dan, Paula.
They are on high alert, but Britain is a country of resiliency. Ian, thanks for your reporting from London this morning. We want to bring in ABC News contributor John Cohen, who was a top intelligence and counterterrorism official in the Department of Homeland Security. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us, John. First and foremost, as Ian was just reporting, this 18-year-old was arrested. How significant a development is this arrest, and how does it change the investigation?
Well, it's a significant event. It'll help lead authorities to determining whether there are additional attackers who are out there. That's their number one priority at this point. They want to find out whether this person worked alone or whether there are other people out there who may be preparing to carry out an attack. Secondly, they'll want to figure out, was this somebody who was recruited and trained by ISIS or Al-Qaeda, or was this somebody who is a troubled youth who was inspired by what they saw on the internet?
As Ian Panel reported, Friday's attack may have involved the same type of explosives used in the bombing of that Ariana Grande concert in Manchester several months ago. What do you make of that connection? Is that important?
Well, it could be very important. I mean, what law enforcement authorities in Europe and in London in particular will want to determine is whether they have a bomb maker out there who's working with multiple groups of people to set these bombs and try to cause these attacks to take place. So that'll be one of the things that they'll look at. The good news here is that much of the bombs still exist. So they're going to be able to get a lot of evidence from that device, which will help them lead to the bomb maker.
John Cohen, thank you very much. And we want to say that coming up in the next hour, an ABC News exclusive, our senior justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas, is going to take a look at how the FBI trains law enforcement officials to investigate similar bombings and the forensics they use to analyze the aftermath of an explosion.
And we want to move to politics now. Meantime, President Trump is taking heat over what he tweeted about the London terror attack.
The president getting a rebuke from the British Prime Minister about making what may be unsupported statements in the middle of a terror investigation. ABC's Gloria Riviera is in Somerset, New Jersey, near where the president is staying this weekend ahead of the upcoming United Nations General Assembly meeting in New York City. Gloria, good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan. That's right. And this is not the first time President Trump has touched a nerve in his criticism of how the UK handles these terror incidents or intelligence issues. And this time, British officials are calling his comments extremely unhelpful.
Our hearts and prayers go out to the people of London who suffered a vicious terrorist attack.
President Trump offering sympathy for the victims of London's latest terror attack as Britain's Prime Minister scolded the president for his initial reaction on Twitter. Another attack in London by a loser terrorist. These are sick and demented people who were in the sights of Scotland Yard. Must be proactive. Our George Stephanopoulos sat down with Prime Minister Theresa May in the hours following the attack.
President Trump was up and tweeting this morning. He said that those behind this were in the sights of Scotland Yard. Is that true?
Well, I don't think it's helpful for anyone to speculate on what is an ongoing investigation.
In Washington, the president's team backpedaling, attempting to explain what the president meant.
Obviously, all of our law enforcement efforts are focused on this terrorist threat. So I think if there was a terrorist attack here, God forbid, that we would say that they were in the sights of the FBI. So I think he didn't mean anything beyond that.
But the president was clear in reviving his call for a tougher travel ban on some majority Muslim countries in the wake of the attack. The travel ban into the United States should be far larger, tougher, and more specific. But stupidly, that would not be politically correct.
I think what is important is that we're able to have the powers to identify people who may be wanting to cause us harm and are plotting to cause us harm.
The U.S. Embassy in London is warning Americans traveling to the U.K. or already in the country that, as Ian mentioned, that threat level remains high and they should review their personal security plans. Dan, Paula.
Gloria Riviera reporting in from New Jersey. Gloria, thank you. And you can see much more of George's interview with the British Prime Minister Theresa May Sunday morning on This Week right here on ABC.
It is time for some expert analysis. So joining us now from Washington is ABC News political commentator Cokie Roberts. Cokie, good Saturday morning to you.
Good morning to you, Paula, Dan.
So yet again, here we are talking about a controversial tweet from President Trump. But does this one about Scotland Yard supposedly having the people who pulled off the latest terror attack, quote, in their sights, does this really have any long-term consequences?
No, but what it shows us is that Donald Trump is Donald Trump. You know, we've had kind of a week of a quiet White House with the president meeting with Democratic leaders, having his cabinet to Camp David, going down to the hurricane disaster areas, and all of it being very presidential. And all of a sudden now we have back the tweets. And it just shows you that you can't just count on Donald Trump to be anything other than Donald Trump. And that's what those tweets were showing us.
You mentioned the meeting with the Democratic leaders. I want to talk about that because there's been so much talk about this agreement, or what appears to be an agreement that Trump may have reached with Democratic leaders Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi to protect the so-called Dreamers. We know that some Trump supporters are really upset about this, but interestingly, Politico posted a story overnight about how some liberals, some people on the left, are also upset. So I want to ask you, how much of a political risk is there here for Chuck and Nancy, as Trump calls them?
His new best friends, Chuck and Nancy, who I think, by the way, he probably does get along with better than Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan, who are much more foreign to him. You know, somebody from Kentucky and Wisconsin as opposed to New York and San Francisco. But the truth is, it's always difficult to govern. And that's what Pelosi and Schumer are doing here. They're finding a way to actually protect those 700,000 to 800,000 young people who have been covered by the Deferred Action Program. And people on the left and the right hate that. They want to just fight, and they want to characterize the other side as the enemy and use it in political campaigns. And so the leaders of the Democrats, like the leaders of the Republicans, have to be careful